Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. This is a special edition. We are starting something a little bit new, a little bit exciting. We're going to teach you about some super successful people and what they've done. We're going to let them teach you what they've done to be successful. Get ready, get buckled up, get excited to wake up that inner giant. Here we go. Let's do this. Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. There goes Jon Absey, who is going to be our guest today, but he'll be right back, I'm
Anyhow,
sure.
yeah,
You know what? It wouldn't be a Wake Up with Giants TV show if there wasn't a couple of technical difficulties as we're starting this new adventure. It's actually pretty exciting. Um, I'm really excited about what we have planned, and Nick has a vision. Sent me the vision of what he had planned, and I want him to share a little bit about it with you, and then he's going to introduce our amazing guests,
yeah. I'm gonna throw
This
this
is
over
Mr.
there
Nicholas T. Smith.
because we've done some reruns for a little bit, and so we've done 319 episodes of the Root Journey. So in the 12 Journeys program, the first 6 journeys are the Root Journeys, and that's where we deal with non-consciousness, awareness, grief, acceptance, gratitude, and empowerment. And so after 319 episodes, we got a pretty good sense of what it takes to navigate your difficult emotions, navigate your past, elevate yourself to a certain level. But what happens when you want to change into something different, or you want to transform what is into something new? That's what we're going to focus on in the growth journeys. Is we're going to really take you through the journeys of uncertainty, abundance, vision, surrender, nurture, and ultimately legacy. And so the legacy is our 12th journey. But we want to demonstrate in people who've done it what it takes after you've kind of developed yourself, or as you develop yourself, to grow into something new and transform what is into what you have in mind. And so we thought, what better person to do this than Jon Absey? And I'm going to go ahead and introduce him if that's cool. Should we
Let's
do
do
that?
it. Yes.
Yeah. So Jon Absey uh, is pretty uplifting and inspiring, but and not just here in our community, but in the NBA. So when we think of mascots, we think of fun and entertainment, but behind the mask is a person who dedicated their lives and their ankles, right, to creating
And
joy,
backs and shoulders and
and
knees and
shoulders,
toes.
right, and every broken bone in between, to serving communities, making an impact. And few have done this at the level of today's guest, Jon Absey. So he's a legend in the NBA world, performing at over 1,200 games, donating 19,000 plus hours to community service, raising millions for charity. He's been awarded with more than 50 national and community honors, inducted into multiple halls of fame, and even had his own day in Utah declared by 3 governors. So he wasn't just the NBA mascot of the year once, he won it 5 times, and he's been named the best mascot across all sports. So Jon's story is about basketball. It's also about leadership, sacrifice, and giving back. And also, Jon, we know about you. You're rewriting your story now in an even newer direction. And so, man, we're excited to have you on to kind of teach us your success secrets. So, welcome to the show.
What are you guys doing? I haven't talked to you guys forever. I'm so excited to be here. This is great.
Dude, it's been a minute. We need to do a cigar and a whiskey, man.
Anytime. I'm always up for a cigar and whiskey.
Yes, sir. Well, we are going to dive in a new direction here, and it's really navigating the growth journeys. And so we've gone through your story, and people can find that in the in Wake Up with Giants TV. And we are live today, so we will be pulling your comments up. Saw Andy on there. Hi, beautiful. So welcome. And we're going to pull your comments up. We're going to share those throughout. But really, we want to go through the growth journeys here and start with the journey of uncertainty, because back when you began, I would imagine when you started into the journey of becoming a mascot, and even you can pull in both worlds, okay? That journey and the one you're on currently, is how do you navigate the unknown? How do you navigate not knowing what's coming next?
It was really hard when I left the Jazz to figure that out, because every step seemed like the wrong step. And the only thing I can say is that when you're in that situation, you just need to take a step, whether it's the right step or the wrong step, but you just need to take a step. Otherwise, you get stuck and stagnant. And that's what I knew I was feeling. So I did. I just took a random step, and I was there for a little bit and realized that's not where I was going. And then I just took another step. And then what you need to do is you just need to get out of that kind of woe is me and, focus. Basically, I think what helped is because I got more into charity work, and I realized that by helping others and serving is what pulled me out of that.
Yeah. Okay. And do you ever really know what's going to happen next anyway?
No. Hell no. I really don't. I mean, nobody does. You just hope for the best, right? Isn't that kind of what it is?
Yeah. Well, let's hang here for a minute, because that unknown is, we fool ourselves into thinking that we have certainty. And Nassim Nicholas Taleb talks about that. He says that, we're the empirical decision makers who hold uncertainty as our discipline, that not knowing what the next steps are and stepping forward anyway is the highest and most noble human pursuit. And, people go around fooling themselves like they know what's going to happen next. And can you speak to that a little bit? And Ryan, maybe you have some thoughts around that too.
Brian, you going first, or am I?
You go first, and then I'll chime in here.
No, honestly, I've always, been able to ad lib, and I've always been like, with my job as the Jazz Bear is, I remember going to this. I don't know if I'm hoping this kind of relates, but I went into Phoenix Suns and for a birthday party, and we got there, and this was like back in 94, 95, and we rehearsed and we rehearsed and we rehearsed and we rehearsed, and I was like, holy hell, it was a lot of rehearsal. And in my head, I was like, well, this is how pro mascots do it, because I was still so new. And we went out there, and because it was live entertainment, one of the things didn't go off quite right, and I froze, and I was like, this isn't what's supposed to happen. And I didn't know what my next step was, because we practiced so much. I couldn't do anything spontaneous because I was just locked in, like, now what, kind of that fear of, well, I don't want to screw up the skit. What should I do? And when I left, I remember I told myself I never want to do that again. So what I did with my character is, Alan, you guys know Alan Handy. He was our on-court host at the time, and he was such a good ad-libber. And I would literally just kind of say, okay, this is where the skit has to start. This is kind of what's going to happen in the middle. This is where we have to be at the end. And he would just jot down a few notes. And in my head, everything was always kind of loose. It was like, okay, I'm going out there, and if something doesn't work, I know how to veer. I know how to change course, because I felt like I learned how to be spontaneous and react to things that were coming at me. But with my career now changing careers, it's not that way. It's totally different. I can't shoot because I got other people working for me, and the responsibility is different. You know what I mean? It's just a little different.
I get that. Yeah. Ryan, what thoughts came up as you heard that?
As I heard John, I loved the thought that this isn't what is supposed to happen. How many of us have said that? How many of us have felt that moment, like where you're like, this isn't how I planned it. This isn't what was supposed to happen. That's an amazing statement. And then it's the balance of where do you go from here? And John talked about it. He learned, at first you're probably freeze. That's actually probably good advice in the beginning, because you could go into a spiral, you could go backwards, you could, there's a lot that could happen. to work on getting your head back in some of that, and then veer and change course, shift, be open. I heard the be loose. You were loose in what you were doing, and I kind of was like inside. I'm like, like it's okay. Ad lib a little bit, go with it, figure it. Move. You might not always know the next right step, but you don't know it anyway. That was the whole point of what you
Yeah.
were talking about, Nick, right? But yet here we are in life. Whether you're me, you, the jazz bear, it happens to every single one of us. We think we can control every aspect of life, and you just can't.
Well, it's you got to bounce around, because you look at the 12 journeys, and it's so, as humans, we get into this linear step-by-step process. So if I do this and I do that, and the ad lib component of this is that when you look at the 12 journeys and the upper journeys, the 6 5 growth and 1 legacy journey, is that you're going to bounce between uncertainty and surrender, right? You're going to bounce between uncertainty and self-care or nurture. And you're going to go back and forth. One of the examples we use in our trainings is the slime mold. When they set up the Tokyo subway system, they wanted to do a test with slime mold. So they put oats on the different subway stations, and the slime mold went out in every direction, right? And when it found the oats, it reached out in every direction to find the oats. And once it found the oats, it fine-tuned and found a most efficient pathway. And the pathway was almost identical to what it took decades to discover for the Tokyo subway system. In fact, it was more efficient. And so they mapped the Tokyo subway system after slime mold, which is incredible. And in our lives, sometimes our dreams, we know where we're going, we know where the oats are, but we got to go in all directions to find the pathway. But once you do that, there is a system that has to be followed. I keep this in my background. There's an algorithm that has to be followed for you to solve what it is you're creating. And now you talk about, Jon, that with your new creation, you can't just ad lib everything. There's a set of steps or structure that has to be there. Why is that so important? Why can't you just ad lib that? Why can't you wing it?
I think it's because, well, for me, it's because when I was on the court, when I was ad-libbing it and I was winging it, it was me pulling the strings. I was the puppeteer, and
Yeah.
and it was Alan Handy, and otherwise that was roughly about it. And in today's world, with what I'm doing, there's so many other factors, and there's so many other things that to ad-lib and be spontaneous that way. It just doesn't work, because there's too many gears in that wheel, that the big wheel that's turning. There's just too many now that I can't predict what everybody's going to do. Yeah.
And so how do you do that? So if we look at success strategies for somebody that's maybe in a similar boat, and they've got where they are, and they've got the end point. This is where I am, this is where I want to go. And then they've got all these people that are part of it. Like Ryan and I, when we first started, it was just the two of us. We could go out and just do whatever. We'd meet in a coffee shop, and every day we'd say, let's do this week. And it worked because we could ad lib that, because there were no rules. But then we started building community and all these things, and we had to learn to navigate community, because now it's not just us, it's everybody else that's a part of this. And so from your point of view, how do you structure, and how do you know which systems to structure so that you can go from point A to point Z? How do you figure that part out?
Well, I mean, honestly, I'm just going to say is you use the word successful, how can we be successful? Yeah. And honestly, I think one thing that I've been trying to do, and not trying to do, but I learned from back being the bear, is I don't like the word success, and I don't like the word being successful, because I feel like that's just for me. It's more of, success is for you. And it's the same thing for you, Ryan. To me, it's more selfish, and it's just about you. What did I do to be successful? I really think that where the course changed is when I wanted to be of value. And when you do things of value, I feel like it moved me farther forward in what I was doing with my businesses, because once again, like I said, I was helping charities. I was, doing promos and stuff at cost. And I worked on helping others, believe it or not. And that came back to me. I think that in order for somebody, like business wise and in life in general, I really believe, and it's always going to go back to the same thing for me, is that it's about how you treat people and how you give back. And it's not about taking, what am I doing that's going to help me? And what am I going to do that's going to help me? Does that make sense?
Oh man, a lot. Yeah. So growing up, we're taught to fit into society. We're taught to be accepted. We're taught to do things that will put us at a status level where we're measured. I remember when I was probably 10 years old, we moved to St. George, Utah, and I went to the city pool, and this kid was like, "Hey, you're too poor to be here." I got so mad. I chased him around the pool, right? But he was super fast, so I couldn't catch him. But I remember like it stuck, we were measured on poverty level, or we were measured on success, like you say. And we've had a shift in the Giants where we went from, okay, let's see how successful we can get to, let's maybe reach 100 million people globally, to how do we impact one person today? And I remember when we shifted that goal. Do you remember that, Ryan?
Yeah.
And what happened? I mean, from your point of view, what happened with that?
Just everything changed. The connection to whoever was right in front of us, and also us looking at ourselves back in the mirror, it shifted, and the impact and the growth started. People came in. We built relationships and friendships that one is somebody like Jon Absey. These almost miraculous, spontaneously combusted relationships just poof, like you're like, how did that just come in? People introducing us to other people. And I remember, meeting with the chaos coordinator and Curtis Marsh.
Yeah.
And going to, talking about it. And then Curtis Marsh says, "Hey, I want to introduce you, to Jon. Do you not know Jon?" I was like, "Well, I know of Jon." And he goes, "Well, we're gonna go to dinner." I was like, "Okay." That's who would turn down a dinner with the man behind the jazz bear. And
my wife.
Touche. Besides your wife.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. Anybody like me who's, that was like a childhood idol, like that was like the guy, and I would go watch the NBA players, sure. But as a kid, that like wanted to be entertained by the Jazz Bears. Like, what is he going to do next? Like, what crazy thing is this guy going to do? And Mrs. Jazz Bear. There it is right there, Mrs. Jazz Bear. But in short, everything shifted once we focused on the real right things for the right reasons.
Yeah, and it's we think about shifting your inner world. And going back to the root journeys, who you thought you were, and waking up to that and navigating the emotions. And, every episode we did prior to this was about that. And Jon, you were even a part of that in our group coaching. But now it's like, well, now that you know that, and now that you're okay with that, and you're at a level of being able to navigate life with what is, and now you want to bring your dreams into reality, there are steps that get to be followed. And we've seen those in the step of uncertainty, the journey of uncertainty, the journey of abundance. And we'll talk about abundance for a minute here, is that everything we need is all around us to create anything we can imagine. I use AI significantly. It's pretty impressive, right? You can put in a prompt, it'll pop out an outcome. It's loaded with trillions of bits of information, and it's amazing what it can create, but it's still limited by human imagination. So it's as abundant as it is with information, it's still limited by human ingenuity. And so no matter what I put into it, all that comes out is what I'm putting into it. And if you look at our world, like everything in our world, all of this stuff behind me, the clothes I'm wearing, at one point were chaos, just like the bits of information in that AI. And what created this is somebody said, I'm going to create a shirt. I'm going to create glasses. I'm going to create a wall. And they took the raw materials and they transformed them into what is. And here you took something that somebody had an idea of a mascot, but you took the abundance that was and you transformed that. And now you're doing it again in another way. You're transforming what is into something else. Can you speak about abundance and how important it is to not only see it, but to know how to use it? Does that make sense?
Yep. I'd like to go off on a tangent though, on my first on abundance. And when you have Ryan over at your house for a party and you happen to go too much on abundance and you end up with Sharpie on your face.
I do have photo evidence of abundance. He hasn't taken advantage of abundance before. John, I will tell you this, that John can fall asleep just about anywhere sitting up.
Pretty easy. I'm serious. I got that out of the military, man. I could fall asleep standing up. I was like, so yes, be careful with a Sharpie around Ryan if you're going to fall asleep. I'm so sorry. I know what I was going to say too. Going back to your AI comment is something, because I love AI, and something that my daughter taught me is that goes right along with what you're saying is, when I was looking for stuff, because what I've started to do is having AI give me, just because with my Mascot company, is just give me some ideas, give me a direction. And I would just type in, because I'm, just want to get it done quick, because I'll just type in something quick and it'll spit out something, but it's not quite right. And then my daughter, I asked her to do it, and it was like, holy hell, how did you do that? That's amazing. And the reason is, and like you said, just like in the, the world, society, and any other thing that you do, relationships, when you put in a little, you're going to get back a little, and when you put in the time and the effort in, what you get back is amazing. And I hope that references what you were talking about. But I remember when you were saying that, in my head, I was just like, when I put the time into AI and I say, this is what I'm looking for, and I put in the details, what comes back for a character is always awesome. Yeah. But when I started out, I was just trying to put in something and hopefully getting something big back, and it never worked.
Well, that's how people play life. Yeah. They put in enough, and then it's like playing the lottery. I hope this is enough to win the lottery. They buy the ticket and then they hope for the best, right? And life doesn't tend to work that way. Life is a series of adaptations of, we take what is and we mold it, and then we get a failure out of it. And then we have a chance to learn from that failure. And my definition of failure that I'm using when I say that is a negative yield. So it's just an outcome that wasn't, what we intended. And success being a positive yield, but in society, we measure success as material and monetary and all this stuff. That has nothing to do with it. Whether you're financially successful or not in bringing your dream to reality isn't what we're after. It may be a part of it, but what we want to do is bring that dream to reality and take the ethereal and make it material. And in order to do that, you've got to fail. And I look at Dyson, the guy that created the vacuum. He created 5,100 models that didn't suck.
That's a really sucky story,
right? Until he found the one that did suck. And so, but that led to a
sounds like Ryan's dating life,
right? Hopefully he doesn't have a dating life yet, but
Ryan,
if he hadn't gone through that, he wouldn't have done that. Edison too, he found 10,000 ways that didn't work, but he found the one that did. And people are afraid to fail. How important is failure in that point of view?
Oh no, I think there's two ways to fail, though. I mean, I think when you fail and give up, you failed. But when you fail and learn from it and then can move on, to me, that's not like a full-on failure. Like, you never really failed. What you did, that's just part of the process of learning. But when you really fail is when you fail and give up after the first time, because
Yeah.
you don't think that there's any way to get around it. But I mean, like Dyson, every one of those was just a little closer to him being successful in his project. And it's when you quit and give up is when you finally fail. That's
the ultimate, right? That's where you just say, I can't do it. And then you become right. And that can be really challenging, because when we look at the root journeys, sometimes in the growth journeys, you're constantly back in the root journeys, because you're going into the unknown. So emotions are going to come up, your past is going to come up, and then you have to go all the way back and do your root work to just step back into life and keep going. Because creation isn't an easy process. It took 15 years to get the Giants onto print. I wrote it in 2009, right? I think it was somewhere around there, 2009, 2000. Yeah. It's been.
I got one of your first copies, by the way.
Yeah, you do. And that book took a lot of effort to even get where it is today. And we're not done. There's still more to bring other dreams related to that book into reality. And Ryan, when he wrote his chapter in his book, I remember sitting there and he's going back and forth, editing. And it took that kind of effort for him to get his chapter just right to get into that book. Right. So with your new business, that adaptation is a part of the growth process. It's learning how to mold the abundance. Do you have anything to share around that additional?
I don't know if this is exactly what you're talking about, because it's early and you're using big words, Nick.
Okay.
Just saying.
It's early and it's daylight savings.
This is a good point, right? Big words are unnecessary. I just use them.
Trying to get rid of the cobwebs here. No, I'm going to be, about business and about what I learned, is one, I started too many at one time. I wish I would have just picked one, because when it comes to anything, business or even your life in relationships, family, anything, focus is key. And the fact that I'm spinning plates, I'm not able to focus well on anything, family, work, all of that. The other thing is, I also learned that I was stressing over everything. Everything was a stress. Everything was freaking weight. And I finally had to say, okay, it's hard. It's hard to really explain, other than the fact that I just kind of went, you know what? Like, what happens is going to happen, but I'm not going to kill myself over it. It's not worth it anymore. And I'm not swirling. I'm just talking. You used a couple words I didn't understand. Andrea.
Hey, John, so like when you were, like, I look at it and I've seen, I mean, I wasn't there, when you were the Jazz Bear, I was a lot younger than I am now, and but you were the Jazz Bear for what, 25 years?
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. You're a lot older than I am, buddy. But when you were the Jazz Bear, or before you were the Jazz Bear, there's probably a similar process. You've been this person for a while, like this guy, for a long while. You were on a farm, right? And you grow up in the middle of nowhere, USA. You didn't just magically one day wake up and you're like, I'm the Jazz Bear. There was effort, focused energy, and attention, and then preparedness, and a lot of failures, quote unquote, like we talked about, met opportunity. And the opportunity is presented for you to be that individual, that person that was going to head that up. And the same is it. What's that? Yeah, just go ahead.
No, keep going.
All I was going to say too, and you could talk about that for a little bit, maybe, but and then everything wasn't perfect day one. You could be like, hey, I arrived, but then you freeze on the court. And you're like, oh shoot, like what the heck, maybe I'm not as ready as I thought I was. And then with your new venture too, you're spinning plates and you're learning again. You're getting back into that training ground. You start a couple of businesses, you do a bunch of things, and you're like, okay, I can do this. And then you learn and go down that pathway, just like going, towards being the jazz bear, and you start going, oh, okay, I can't do this anymore. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. I've got to take this off my plate. I got to stop spinning that plate, and I got to put it back into the focused energy and manage what I'm doing. That's what I hear in that is management, maturity, being smart, learning from those experiences.
Keyword, except it doesn't work for me. I'm not smart, guys. I'm not smart. I'm just lucky. And
Proof you don't have to use big words to be successful, kids.
But you're very human. So knowing you personally, we've smoked cigars together. You're just a down to earth, good dude. And when people see people that are succeeding, we often put them on a pedestal, right? And it's like, oh, I'll never be that. But what we're trying to demonstrate here is anybody watching this is as capable as you or anybody else to create their version of success. But when we start measuring ourselves against others, then we get stuck into that gap of suffering where we're no longer good enough because we're not measuring up to this ideal we have about others. And the other thing you're hitting on here is in the journey of vision, the more clear your vision, the more likely you are to generate hope. And when you have an unclear vision, people don't have hope. They often feel despair or defeat. Okay. And so when you get really clear on your vision, then you kind of know the direction you're heading. And then the rest is goals and steps and procedures to help you get there, algorithms. And sometimes you make those up on your own, and that takes time, or you learn from others. Can you speak to that a little bit? The vision and then the algorithms, like, did you make up your own algorithms or did you learn from others? Does that make sense?
Throw up the squirrel thing again.
Big words.
That's exactly how my whole life is. I swear to you guys. I mean, I can put it in a nutshell. And I even speak on this a little bit.
That was clever.
Is what?
Are you playing on squirrel puns now? Like that was
squirrel puns all day long. No, I swear to you. I mean, I've just had and I'm really I feel like I was the wrong guy to talk on this one because my experiences have been just so different than anybody else. I'm not a business guy, you guys. I was a good mascot. I suck at business, straight up. When I got that job, Ryan, when you were talking about, the focus and all that, I tried to avoid mascotting as much as I could. I was going to school to be an attorney, and mascotting reached out and found me. And I just seriously, everything has just little doors open and I enter them and I'm like, oh, look where I'm at. It's like the multiverse. It's like, here I am. I don't know, and then when I got through mascotting, it wasn't about me. It was about everybody around me. It wasn't, because I was, a really good mascot or I knew what I was doing. It was because the little doors that no matter who you were, whether you were one of the security guards or one of the custodial people or a manager, somebody opened a door just enough to allow me to do something or to help me in a certain way to be able to create everything I created back in the day. And I you can't overlook that. It wasn't, me and this is what I did. It just took an army. And then correlating it to today's world, it literally is the same thing with my businesses. I jumped into these and I didn't have a vision, right? I knew what I wanted, but it was in my head. And I remember all these people I talked to that were really,
which is also a vision. It's not maybe like what the world is saying is this grandiose vision.
Right.
But you knew what you wanted is, I think, which is key. But keep going.
I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know how to quite get there. And everybody kept saying, you got to take what's in your head and put it on paper. But then when I would put it on paper, it just got big. It would just seem massive. You know what I mean? But in my head could compartmentalize it a little bit. And just, I knew what I needed to do, but I'm only one person. The other thing with that is it really turned into, just like mascotting, is was all about the people that were around me. Like my value in these businesses and them, being a little successful was all determined by the people that supported me, my relationships, all those relationships that I started when I moved out here have helped me in some little way. Everybody thinks that you're going to go into this and you're going to do it on your own. And, dude, nobody does anything on their own. And I'm just going to say, like even you guys putting on this show, I know you two put all the time and effort in it, but it still took other people around you. And I think once people understand that and they're willing to just say, you know what, it took, more than just me. And you can start handing out thank yous to people and the understanding that, no matter who you were, that you came into my life, you have helped me get to where I'm at. And I think a lot of people, that's where I get kind of, you have these people and they see these successful people and they're going to do, I'm going to do exactly what he did. Well, you can't do exactly what he did. How he got from A to B back 10 years ago and he, and he made all his money. There's no way you can go from A to B like he did. The people that came into his life are not coming into your life, to open doors or to help you out. So that A to B isn't going to work. That's why Tony Robbins, tell me one person that watched Tony Robbins and was like, hey, I'm a millionaire now. Anybody? Yeah. Anybody out there?
But you're hitting on a huge component, which is surrender, because we get locked in and we get so rigid in our view that we box in the universe. I love the quote by Townsend Wardlaw that says, as soon as you believe something, it becomes limiting by the nature of believing it. You just boxed in the universe and said, that's it. And then Chris Smith says that everything is possible. Possibility exists. Limitations are created. And we do that. And we create limitations based by our rigidity. So when you're surrendering, and like you say, the people that came into your life aren't going to be the people that come into somebody else's life. And the pathway you took isn't going to be the exact pathway somebody else's takes to create their success. So there has to be a level of surrender that happens, which is rendering over to another, right? Releasing some of that control to another or to the flow that has to happen for that to become a reality. Here you are going to be an attorney and you become a mascot instead. Like, who could have predicted that, right?
Nope.
A lot of people would have, a lot of people's parents would have been like, you're going to do what now?
Oh, no, that happened. That happened big time.
But how do you flow with that, right?
Dress up costumes.
I'm a glorified furry. I'm a glorified furry.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm a glorified furry. I can walk through them all and nobody judges me.
Oh, shit.
And then that's how we got canceled. So,
first show back and the last show.
First and last show. But you look at that rigidity and that surrender of, I'm going to go through that door. Let's see where this goes. And even, when you work with people, I've got an idea of what I want you to do. And then they come in and they say, okay, that's cool, but this is who I am. So you're going to work with that. And there's a letting go. Can you speak more to that? And Ryan, you too, if you got thoughts around that.
You go first, Mr. John.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. No, if this kind of correlates with what you were asking, it's like, something that I have been really fortunate with is managing people. Like with my bear crew, I had guys that worked there for 25 years with me the whole time. And with the employees that I have, I tend not to go in and like, this is what we're going to do. You know what I mean? And I'm more of an employee alongside them. And anytime that we have a difference of opinion, I love that. Because, and this is specific, just happened about a month ago, as we were working on a character and her name is Kaya, and she had a difference of opinion on how we were going to do this character. And I was like, nope, this is how we should do it. And we sat and we just talked, we went back and forth. And when it comes to businesses like this and any relationship, And I think in almost anything you do, you need to drop your egos. And once you drop egos is when you can actually solve the problem. It's when you all of a sudden puff up your chest and I'm the owner and you're going to do what I'll say, that type of thing. Or she's going to puff up her chest and I'm production manager. You're never going to get anywhere. But we just sat down like adults. We talked and we came up with an answer that neither one of us thought of. And it was awesome. Like I even said that. I was like, this is awesome. It's the best answer that we could have possibly come up with. And it was because of the collaboration between the two of us talking, not arguing, but just talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Brian, additional thoughts there?
Yeah, and I it's fun to know you, Jon, now, just as a friend, right? Now that we've created a relationship. You are a relationship guy. I feel like I look in the mirror at my older self, and when I see your picture,
yeah, really up there, age.
Yeah. Geez, when I get as old as you someday, Jon, I hope to be like you. But right now, like it's seriously like the instant that we met you, we're some two dudes that Curtis Marsh put in front of you, and we sit down and we went to R&R barbecue, I think, and we just sat there and ate some dinner, talked, laughed, said, hey, let's get back together. We had you on the show, and then from there the relationship formed and was created. Open arms too. You invited me to your house, and then you probably regretted inviting me over to your house after you fell asleep. And your friends, they all brought me in. I'm friends with probably a good chunk of your friends. I'm Jon's boo boo bear.
He's also Big Spoon. He's Big Spoon. I'm Little Spoon.
He's Little Spoon.
I wish I hadn't witnessed that.
Yeah. It's fine,
There's
Nick.
some things you just can't get rid of in your side. I got to go back through the root journeys over that one.
Fine. I never in a million years would I ever thought I would talk about being the Big Spoon with the jazz bear. Today happened, just because of vision. I'm just kidding.
That was
Ryan's warm and cuddly.
Yeah, I want to
be a little warm and cuddly, Ryan.
Oh, speaking of squirrel, you guys got me way off track. Okay, I'm gonna pull it back together. This is for you, Nick. Relationships. Watching Jon be the jazz bear for 25 years. I got to go to jazz signings and behind the scenes events and get there early. I would go early so I could get the posters back in the day when they handed out crap at the door. I would get there so early so I could watch, warm-ups and guys that came out before warm-ups to shoot free throws and get to know. I would get to know the ushers, the people that were in my area. They knew me. They watched me grow up, but I got to watch you. And you would come into the portals. You would go, zooming down the hallways, and you would see somebody out of the corner of your eyes, a little kid, a mom and a baby with a jazz gear on, and you'd stop, you'd say hello, you'd pick up the baby and give it a hug, or the kid, pat him on the back, give him a high five. I watched it because you're a relationship kind of a person. You're that kind of guy who values people and then pours value into them as well in whatever capacity you can. You can't stop and like spend an hour and a half hanging out with that kid, even though in your heart you probably want to. But it's those moments, it's those little times, like the R&R barbecue, the phone calls, the text messages. I just text you even before me and Nick were invited you to the show, and I didn't have anything to do with that, by the way. And I wish I could have taken credit for you being our first guest, but I had reached out to you and messaged you and said, hey, it's been too long. We need to go do something. And then Nick on his own reached out and said, hey, I've got the first guest. It's Jon for the show. And I'm like, what the crap? It's the universe too. Then there's the magic of the universe. You're kind of that X factor where you take what you are, who you are, what you've built, you put in the effort and the time and the energy, and then watch what doors open and who comes in. You pour into people and abundance shows up. It's all around you. It just needs somewhere to be put in front of you as you're stepping. And then boom, instead of being an attorney, you're the jazz bear, and then you're on Wake Up with Giants TV, and you've reached your pinnacle.
It's the pinnacle right here.
I'm there.
I don't know how you
Big
do this.
spoon.
Dude, you segue in so perfectly. It's like, that's what I needed right there. Because the next journey is nurture. In the 12 journeys is the nurture and ultimately the legacy. So these last two are essential. But nurture is building yourself, building your dream, nurturing and taking care of your dream, and then nurturing relationships, right? So that nurture is everything, because Jon, you didn't get there by yourself. It was everybody in the audience that got you there. Your current venture isn't being done by yourself. You can't run and ruin your ankles like you used to, but you gave up your body in the service of others. And how important is nurture? And if you had to do it over again, what would you shift, or would you shift anything? Would you still sacrifice that much?
I've been asked that a couple times, and honestly, I mean, God, that one is so tough, because I mean, I loved what I did, and I don't know if I would change anything, which is stupid. Maybe jumping out of the suites, because I still remember I would jump out of the suites and it made a huge noise because they had like this stage that rested into this cement area, so it would make a big boom. And I remember the first time I did it, I'm standing up there and I just jumped and landed. And I looked around, I was like, because everybody looked up because of the boom. And I'm standing there and dust kind of rolled out from the edges. And I was like, I got to do that again. Then I went down, and after the game, I was taking my shoes and socks off, and my ankles were just swollen and black and blue. And I remember all of us, joking like, oh, you're going to feel that when you're 80. And I'm like, well, it hit me at 50. But I remember
you were wrong.
Don't worry, I'm an early learner, dude.
But
early developer.
I remember they healed up. I iced them, and it was probably 2.5, 3 weeks later. I'm up in the suites, and I'm looking, and I'm like, I know what's going to happen. And sure as hell. And I bailed, and I did it, and I'd ice them. They'd get better. And then I'd jump out of a suite again, because it was in my head. It was entertaining and it was cool. But yes, I would probably give that up just to save my ankles. But I honestly think, like when you talk about nurturing and all that stuff, like, like with relationships, I mean, I can't emphasize enough, just relationships in general are what got me through being a mascot and being able to make it a program of value. And I went on that throw up the squirrel point again. And so I really think that, give me the question again, Nick.
You hit it. It's just, the nurturing. I look at it as you've got to do self-care. You've got to care for your relationships, and you have to care for your creation, because if you don't care for one of those components, then the word nurture is the care you give to the thing you're creating. And if you were looking at a garden, you neglected any element, the dirt, the weeds, the water, then that garden dies. And I think when it comes to your creation, I mean, there's so many components that have to be nurtured, including you, that without that, the creation dies.
100% agree. And like you just said, if it wasn't for the relationships that I have, I would have never been able to get any of these businesses going. And to me, like, if you were to look at everything and you're like, hey, like, what's the most important thing, between family and your relationships and work and money, if you just put everything out there. I mean, my first two are family and relationships. Relationships. And I know a lot of people, it's interesting, because I'm sure you guys have met people that they don't really value that many relationships. They meet people and they might know them, but if they're not in their circle, they're just acquaintances. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they use people. they're not really relationships. They're a tool, and
nailed it.
People know that.
And I've just looked at it as I never want to be
you as a tool, Jon.
No. Trust me, so many people call me a tool all the time. It's like, even my mom and dad called me a tool when they were like, "What? You're going to be a
Absey, that dude's a tool.
Such a tool."
Which is exact opposite. If you even get the opportunity in life to meet him, it's the exact opposite.
Oh, I love you guys.
Yeah.
No, but I swear to you guys, and I know it's different for everybody, but if I were ever to just draw a roadmap, or if I was ever to leave for the last people on earth, this is what needs to do, is your family and your relationships, and everything else will come. I mean, it really has for me. If I don't know how to do business, you guys, and I have had so many people that are people that have come into my life, either recently or I've known them for 30 years, have come in and have helped guide me, I just, I don't know. I value people because that's something that you can hang on to for the rest of your life. Like, I still have 5 of my best friends are from first grade, and I really cherish that. And I'm hoping, I'm going to know you guys until I stop walking on this earth. And I love that about relationships, is that it's something that, like you said, you can nurture and it can grow even more. It doesn't. Your relationships don't stop. I mean, they can just keep growing and growing, and you do things together. And, when I'm laying in my bed, getting ready to go, I can look back and go, "Oh yeah, Ryan, that ass, he drew on my face."
Little spoon.
And he was a good big spoon, and they had good cigars that day. So I'm just saying,
we'll be rolling around on our matching jazzies, right?
Exactly. Oh wait, I know what I got.
So let's hit impact.
With what?
Do you have a cane already?
Yes.
Let's talk about impact.
Not a cigar.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Do you?
There it is.
There you go.
We've talked about it enough, boys. I say we just light one up. Well, let's end the show. We'll each have a cigar. I say we do it.
Now let's talk about impact and ripple, because you hit on that, the ultimate impact. Because the 12th journey is about your individual ripple, and nobody else can do it. And so when you look at your dream, your vision, your impact, there's nobody that's going to come close to what you can do individually. And we try so hard to be other people, and we will never be a Jon Absey. I will never be a Jon Absey. I'll never be a Ryan Morris. Ryan Morris will never be me. Thank God, right? that we all get to do that individually. But talk about your ripple and your impact, and how does that guide what you do every day?
I don't know. I mean, like when you were talking about, nobody being like anybody else, is, if I could touch on that, the one thing that I feel sorry for are those people who want to be somebody else. You know what I mean? And I mean, I've been just really fortunate that, and I don't know if you guys have been around me in situations, but I mean, it's like, I still remember Gail Miller taking me to lunch, and she was asking me what was going on with the culture of the company and stuff. And she's like, "Jon, everybody from the custodial to the Millers, to the families," is what she said, but, and then how I looked at that is, and how I always worked with that is, I always treated everybody the same, is I spoke to the janitorial staff, and I enjoyed talking to them just as much as Greg Miller, Steve Miller, Larry Miller, Gail Miller coming down the hall. I never treated them any different, because to me, there's that one saying, is you can always tell the character of somebody by how they treat others who can't do anything for them. And that has always resonated with me. And I want people to know that no matter who you are, I still look at you as someone of value, and they should be treated as such. And I really believe that just that outlook alone, And the fact that I don't want to be anybody else. Like I love, like when I look at, when I meet people, I mean, I do take something from them, but I don't look at them and be like, oh, I want to be like them. I want to, what I do is take a little bit of them and say, I really like that little piece of like what Ryan does. I love how he cuddles. And I see something out of Nick and I'm like, I like how Nick, handles himself in the situation. I'm going to take a little bit of Nick.
Yeah.
I really feel like Jon Absey isn't like this. He came up and he created himself. I am a kaleidoscope of just every person that I met in my life, that all these pieces that I put in that I liked, and then, getting rid of the bad ones and saying, this is a better thing. I saw Nick do that. That was great, and putting it in. Right. And I just feel like I'm just a hodgepodge of everybody I've met and all the good things that I've seen out of them.
There's a quote around that says, nothing of you is original. You are a collection of every person you've ever interacted with. And man, I wouldn't be who I am without you, without Ryan, without Andrea in my world. Like I wouldn't be me today. My kids, you talk about kids, like step up and tell you stuff. You want to talk about honesty.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm a piece of them too. And so that impact, to say I'm self-made, that's bullshit. None of us are. And so that's that wraps, like that pulls everything together in a bundle of navigating uncertainty is just a given. You're always navigating uncertainty. When you think you're not, that's when you're really losing your mind, because nothing is certain, which means everything is possible. And two is you're surrounded by all the abundance you would ever need to create anything you can imagine. The people, the resources, materials are already here. So it's up to you to see it. And now it becomes, what do you want to create? What do you want to make material that's not there? And it's not a measurement of financial success. It's did you bring your dreams into reality, whatever they are? Now, I don't care what they are. And did you surrender along the way? Did you let go of your control? Did you kind of follow the flow? Did you nurture yourself, your relationships, and your dream? And are you making a positive ripple? That to me is the definition of giant success. Is if you're doing those things and you're helping your inner world while you're creating in your outer world, that's where we're making a positive impact in the world. And that goes beyond anything any of us could ever imagine.
Right.
So as we kind of wrap up here, what needs to be shared that maybe we didn't share today? Either one of you.
I thought we talked about a lot of things, and you used a lot of big words. I think that, especially in today's world, I mean, just, with things that I've seen, is I really feel that, people need to be a little bit more patient, and people need to be a little bit more understanding with each other, and realize that we don't know what everybody else is going through, and then really cherish even the smallest relationship. And it is possible to nurture, all of those relationships. That's why, I try to bring, this is kind of funny, as I know Shauna gets mad at me when I do this, but like I try to bring groups of, like how you have different groups of people, and I try to crash them together at parties. She's like, but it's different groups. And I said, yeah, but eventually, if you think about it, I bring everybody together 2 or 3 times, they're going to know each other. And now you're just one big group. And I just feel that, I don't like groups, and I don't like saying, oh, you're part of that group and you're part of that group. It's just, you're just part of the group. And whether, whoever it is, and I love smashing everybody together at an event and just watching how everybody interacts. And then when it comes together again, they're like, oh, I remember you from last time. And then the third time, everybody's in the group.
I like it.
I have no idea where I was going with that, but I just want to say that.
I feel like it needed to be said. Ryan, what thought do you have to wrap this up?
It needed to be said.
It did need to be said, and it sums up. It
sums up. Sharpie.
This show is sponsored by Sharpie. Yeah.
That's how that Sharpie story started, is because of Jon mashing up groups, and I'm forever grateful for you doing that, because from a lot of these Some really great friends have come into my world because of introductions to you, and also finding how many mutual friends we had that we didn't know we had, and just came into our lives. Yeah, I
Yep.
love the group concept. That's amazing. Um, Kind of as a summation of what we've been talking about, I'm not as good. I don't ever claim to be as good as AI at coming up with these things. I'm definitely not Nick in that scenario. But as I was going and taking notes the entire time, there's bullet points, and I just want to go over them quickly.
Yeah.
Everyone is worthy of your love. Value. If you have to change course, you can change course. um, how you treat people, community, relationships, focused energy. You are the X factor. Failure is part of the process. Drop your ego, put the right priorities in the right order, and that creates the positive ripple. And that's what John has done. He's moved to a different venture, and he has new challenges and new things, and figuring out more parts of himself, and that, hey, maybe I'm not the best at business, but I can still use the best parts of me to grow in business and relationships. And I think this is gold. So if you're at home, and it was fun, we had a good time too, because you always do with Jon Absey. You always have a great time with John because he makes you feel valued and loved. It's true. It's true, dude. This isn't just the man crush and the big spoon, little spoon stuff.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you provide value for other people. This is what happens when you pour yourself into other people. John is Ripley positive. Yes, he is Ripley positive. He 100% is. I'll tell you what, he's a way better friend in person than he was a jazz bear, and he was the ultimate mascot.
Oh, God bless you for that. I appreciate that.
Love you, brother.
Yeah.
Thanks for all you do, and thanks for coming on the show.
I love you guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm sorry. It's like you guys, I'm sitting here and I'm like trying to get everything going. It's like early in the morning.
Yeah. Daylight savings.
I haven't had breakfast or a coffee yet, and I'm just like,
well,
oh man.
it's never too late.
It was perfect. It plays out exactly as it needs to every time. So we're never too worried about that. Everything we need to teach is already in you. So it's just drawing that out because you live it. That's why it's there. If you were making stuff up, you'd be fumbling over everything. But this is all experience, and that's what we're after. And this show that we're doing, this series, is about the growth journeys. And so every other week, Ryan and I are going to get together with another guest and talk about strategies for, by definition of success, creating your dream as a reality. We're not talking financial. Maybe it is financial. That might be a part of it. Some people might be financially successful. Some people might be, they just brought their dream into reality. That is success to us. Do you have a thought there?
Yeah, well, I'm so sorry. I'd really be interested on how many people look at that success as financial.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's probably a lot for sure.
I mean, because I mean, I'm not making any money at my businesses yet, but I don't know. I'm just like it, as long as that my employees are getting paid and the bills are getting paid. But I just look at it as like, it'll come. But I'm not out there, and I'm not willing to, rape and pillage to try and make a buck. I've always looked at it as like, when I make money, I know that I can actually say, like, you see all these people that are super wealthy and stuff, and they had to step on somebody, and I want to make sure that, whatever, value I can have in a business, that I did it without stepping on somebody, that I want to try and do it as like, and it's so funny.
Ethically, right? Like,
yes, that's a good word right there.
Did you like that big word?
I love that big word. Yeah, killing me. Killing me.
Can I say one more thing too, real
please.
quick?
Please.
I also want to throw out a giant shout out. This is because I saw the comment from Hugh Jacobson, and one of the, we talk about relationships. We talk about getting somewhere, and we didn't do it alone. And all of these people, all of these comments that are coming up, these are real people on the other end that are here with us live, that are just they're a sliver of the people that we've associated with, but they make a massive difference in our world. One of them, who isn't here but probably would be, that's been to many of our shows, is Al Richards. And Al Richards, and I didn't know because I've been kind of off social media, and I had just gone to breakfast with him about 3 4 weeks ago, that he had his leg amputated from the knee down, and so he's going through some challenges. Um, that man is just like Jon Absey. They would give anything for anybody, anytime. And you never know where life's going to go, and we all band together as a community and as friends. If anybody that's out there that's been touched or loved by Al Richards, I'd ask that you take a moment, reach out on social media. If there's anything that you can do to help or support or give to this great man, I'm going to cry.
Yeah, that's exactly it right there. Keep
please,
going.
Please do, because this is somebody that's like a Jon Absey to me as well. That everyone that knows him has been touched by his impact, and now he's going through a challenge. So that's what we do as communities, and we gather, rally around each other, and lift each other, support each other when we go through hard things. And losing a leg, that's his version, John, of you not being the mascot anymore, and because his livelihood depended on his legs. And so, for those of you that know Al Richards, please reach out to him, because he has created a giant ripple, just like John. So,
yeah, beautiful. Thank you for that. That needed to be here. Al, yeah, again, just to hit on that one more time, is whether you can send him a message of love, a post of love, if you can financially help him out, do that. If you're not in a position to do that, at least send up a prayer, something to show Al that he's important. Lift him up.
He has done. I remember the first time, just quick too as well, that he called us to learn how to do a podcast. He had no clue. He fumbled his way through a few of them, and just like us, they probably sucked at the beginning, or at least we thought they sucked in our heads. And then now he's had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of guests as well.
Yeah.
And made a giant impact in the world.
Yeah.
He has helped a ton of people. Is there a site that we can go to donate to? Does anybody know?
Not. What we'll have you do is reach out to him directly and ask him. Yeah, 'cause I think that's the safer way to do it. Plus, there are some things in place that he has to be cautious about. That there were some mistakes made, so we'll let you reach out to Al. You can do that. He gave us permission to do that, but he'll be able to tell you how to support. He's a dude like me. We hate asking for help. It's like there's a pride thing in there, and it's like, man, I don't want people to know I'm struggling. And sometimes you just need to reach out and just say, hey, man, whatever I can do, I'm in. So just do that for now.
Because he would for every one of us.
Yep.
No, I know he would. I love Al.
Yeah. And this will be an ongoing thing. So if you didn't miss it in the live, or if you missed it in the live show, he's going to be in this situation for a bit, navigating it. So don't forget him.
Are we still on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, hey guys, I'll talk to you afterwards.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to do one more thing here. So alternating Sundays, Ryan and I will be on going through the growth journeys, that series. Now, Andrea Bangerter and I on the alternating Sundays, we'll be talking about the 12 journeys of relationship, and we'll be having guests on to go over that. And so you'll see some shifts in the show here, because these are essential. It's not just relationships in couples. It's like you said, John, all relationships. And so we'll be talking about the 12 journeys of relationship. Ryan and I will be going over the 12 journeys of growth and the success side, by definition of what we just talked about. And the combination of those, one, it's going to give Ryan a little bit of a break so he can enjoy a Sunday here and there. But it's also going to help people to see what it takes to bring your dream into reality, and what it takes to nurture these healthy relationships. And truthfully, Andy and I, we're not perfect at it. So we're learning just like everybody else. And so it'll be a chance for us to get coached as well. So we're looking forward to
awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah,
That's actually that's awesome. I need to tune into that.
Yeah, we'd love to have you. So every Sunday, same time, just tune in on Sundays at 9 a.m. And our goal as Giants is to serve each of you. Mountain. Yep. Mountain with no T. Mountain. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. For those that are watching, you do make this show what it is. We are so grateful for you. We are back live again. We were doing some reruns for a little while we figured out the direction here. But we are live again. If you know somebody that could be a guest that has brought their dreams into reality, or they're in, their domain is relationships, have them reach out to us and let us know who they are. We'll send them an invitation. We'll get them on the show. We do need to fill the calendar. So we need your help to do that. So if you know anybody, share them with us. And outside of that, any other thoughts today, guys?
I love you guys. I know that. How's that work?
That works good.
That's what I say. Love you too.
Love you too. Perfect. Go make it a giant day, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.